So, my first question is, please tell me about yourself. Your name, age, occupation, where you come from, anything else you want to say, okay?
Well, my name is Kari Hughes. I'm 56 years old. I'm from the United States. I live in Michigan. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in the U.S., but I've lived in Michigan for 30-something years. What was the rest of the question? I'm trained as a psychologist, but I have for the past 8 years I founded a company that's a fair trade company where I import into the U.S. handmade products made by women around the developing world and retail them in the U.S. It's a passion project aimed at giving opportunity to women in poverty-stricken and developing countries.
Okay, cool. So, when did you first hear about the Camino, and how did you feel about it when you heard about it?
I read a book written by Shirley MacLaine in probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and I was fascinated by it. And then, of course, everyone in the U.S. has seen The Way with Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez, and it's something that's just been on my radar for a long time. I don't know why this year is the year, but just...
Did Shirley MacLaine walk it?
She did. In the 70s, I think, when no one was, it was completely out of fashion, and she had to, not marked then, and had to find her own way, and then she wrote a book about it.
I didn't know that.
Fascinating book.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so why are you walking the Camino? What is your story?
That's an interesting thing about why. I don't have a loss or a mental thing that I'm trying to work through. I think that I want to do a walking meditation, and I want to learn to push past the places where pieces of my mind say quit, and just see what I'm capable of, and have a touch point where in other places in my life where things feel too hard to say, oh, quit or stop or whatever, to say no, just. And I also love, there's an American woman named Byron Katie.
Oh yeah.
Who very much is about living this moment, being now, loving what is right now, and not looking back, not looking forward, but also what is the story that you tell yourself about what you are and who you are, and how would changing that story change your experience of your life. So I think the Camino is a great way to test that.
Okay.
And see,
brilliant.
How do I show up on a daily basis?
Okay. So where did you start the Camino, and how many days have you been walking now?
I lost track. Started in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port on the 9th of May. Today is the 16th of May, so 7 days.
7 days, okay. And I probably know this already, but I'm still going to ask you, is this your first Camino?
Si, yes, my first. Maybe not my last, though, because I really like it a lot.
Okay. So, what are your hopes and dreams? What do you hope to achieve by walking the Camino? You've kind of answered that, but...
I want to finish, and I want to walk every step, but I also want to live without expectation. And so to make adjustments for making each day the best experience that it can be. And if in the end that means not finishing in the time that I have, then that's okay too. Letting it be what it is each day, and making decisions on a moment-to-moment basis that make each day the best experience that day can be, and not thinking, I have to push through because I have to walk every step, or I have to. I think a dropping of expectation. Back to the other question that you had asked about planning ahead as needed as necessary, so that I know that I have a place to sleep, but not being controlled by expectation. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know Byron Katie, huh? Oh,
Yeah. No. I'm just about to ask the next question. I'm going to cut and edit and play about with it, so it doesn't really matter. We can chitter chatter or anything, during the interview. So, How do you feel about your experience of walking the Camino so far?
I'm madly in love with it. Each day has been different, and each albergue has been different, and the people at dinner have been different, and it's just been, I couldn't be happier.
Mm-hmm.
It's been wonderful.
It's really good.
It's interesting too. I had a conversation with a girl yesterday who was a German girl, and she had said that she was mad at the rocks and she was mad at the rain, and that her friend walked the Camino and it didn't change her at all. And we had this wonderful conversation about, well, were the rocks different when you were angry, and was the rain different when you were angry? You know, it's like only your mind was the thing that was changed by your anger. So why waste your energy being angry? And the Camino can only change you if you're willing and ready to be changed. And then I found this beautiful quote that said, how do you become a butterfly? Only if you're willing to give up being a caterpillar can you become a butterfly, which is such a great quote. And I think so many people are expecting something outside of them to make a change inside, when it's actually the other way, that when you change your inside, then your experience of the outside will be different. The rocks are still there, the rain is still there, whatever is still there.
Absolutely.
But I still don't want my husband telling me how to use my poles.
So, do you think you're going to come back and walk it again?
I think so. I think so. I am starting to see how people are addicted to the Camino, or for different people maybe different pieces of it, but that there's something that helps you separate yourself from the things of daily life that get in the way, and experience just being for day after day, being with who you're with, and being one step at a time, and being completely in the present. That's very difficult to do in daily life. I can see how that is very addicting.
So, have you had... You're jumping ahead of me all the time.
Sorry.
The questions, it's okay. Have you had any realizations, epiphanies, or spiritual experiences on the Camino?
One thing that's been kind of an epiphany is that I had wondered before I came what will come up in my mind. Like, what are my thoughts that I avoid in daily life? And there really hasn't been anything that I feel like is repressed or whatever that is bubbling up. In fact, I was thinking about, well, if something feels too far, then break it down into a piece that feels workable. For me, when I look at the how many K, well, because we use miles in US, and I was like, oh, that's a smaller number. How far you have to walk, do miles, or how far to the next town. But then I started just doing, let me see if I can walk 1,000 steps and count and not let my mind wander. So to just really do a walking meditation to 1,000, which is a lot, but it works. It works just in the moment, you know?
Okay. What are your impressions of the other pilgrims on the Camino?
That everyone's walking their own journey, and some people, I know that when I hear people judging other pilgrims, oh, these people send their packs, or these people whatever, that's a reflection of their own judgment on themselves. Always, we're projecting what our internal process is, or being mad at the rocks and the rain, being mad. I really just see people choosing words and choosing moments that reflect their own internal journey and their own internal workings. So it's easy to judge someone for judging others. And I catch myself doing that, and it's like, oh, okay, you are no different than that person. But yeah, really just very much, everyone has their own Camino, and I really see that. I really see that. I just want to experience each person that I cross paths with in the best human to human experience
Mm-hmm.
that it can be, I
I'm
guess.
going to interrupt this just to tell you a little anecdote about an old girlfriend of mine who used to judge me for being judgmental. I used to just, I'd be creasing myself inside. She wouldn't know irony if it hit her in the face with a fish. You know?
Right. It's like, oh no, pot calling the kettle black on that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you heard any stories on the Camino that have made a particular impression on you?
There's the girl that we saw that was carrying the violin,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, how could you love playing a violin so much that you would be willing to carry that extra weight the whole way? Or let's see, who else? That's the one that really comes to mind, just because she's a very small girl, and the instrument looks like, when you see her in the distance, it looks big, you know. Yeah, it looks big, and the synchronicities of seeing people on the first or second day, and then not seeing them for 3 or 4 days, and like people's paths are going like this and intersecting and then separating and intersecting again, which has been really interesting. The age of some of the walkers, it's like I hope and pray that at 78 or 80 years old that I would be able to do something like this.
Who's the oldest person you've met?
78, I think.
78?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Or people who like going up those steep hills, who are just taking it so clearly one step at a time, you know, and it's going to take hours to get up, but just doing it. Yeah.
Is there a place on the Camino that particularly touched or affected you?
Interesting. The walk to Roncesvalles for us was in the first couple of days and very big, but cold and rain and hail, and so that kind of set the tone for me. It touched me in a way that when the second day is super difficult, everything's just better after that. Where if the first couple of days had been a breeze, then maybe the steep hill down into Zubiri or other things would have felt harder. But because we had already been through something so difficult, it's like you can go down that steep hill and say, well, at least it's not raining. That's the only thing I can think of as far as what touched me. This boy at dinner, Nelson, he actually is a pretty fascinating, wonderful little boy. Yeah.
I might have to interview him. Yeah. My final question to you is, what are your spiritual beliefs?
Spiritual, not religious. I don't follow any organized religion, although I do believe in a higher power and a spiritual experience bigger than the physical life. That we have many opportunities to learn the lessons that we need to learn, or to be in the human form, I guess. So a bit Buddhist, a bit Christian, a bit agnostic. Well, no, not agnostic, because I do definitely think there's, but I don't believe in the good versus evil dynamic. I believe that we're all walking our path and we'll be here as many times till we learn what we need to learn, and that the universe or God or whatever you call it will keep giving you the opportunity to come back and have experiences until you get this thing that
whatever it is we need to learn.
Right. Or almost that it's a prearranged agreement. You know, it's like we're over on the other side. It's like you be you and I'll be me, and we'll come and interact in a good or a bad way until we all learn the things that we need to learn. At least I hope. I hope after I die to be able to like come around and pester people, my children.
Okay, Kari, thank you very much for doing the interview.